The day is September 20. I am visiting Singapore for sightseeing. It's a calm morning, and it's time for me to finally use the final version of Urus Tech on a championship tournament. But before that, let's rewind a bit to how Urus Tech was formed. It's almost the beginning of Philippine Mini Grassroots League. I need to think of a team that has never been seen anywhere else, and it has to be good. And so, I go to Teambuilder and look at my previous teams I used at Esports Match. Esports Match is a community of pro players who gets to battle out for a big prize pool and for a chance to play at a massive invitational. But that's for another video. We are here to talk about the birth of Urus Tech, one of the deadliest Urshifu teams out there. Iron Hands, one of the most highest usage in tournaments besides Fluttermane. It has a very high attack and a very good bulk. The only real threat to it is its opposing rival, Fluttermane. A few solutions people use is Assault Vest or using a Terra to remove its weakness. One I have personally used in the past is a Roselli Berry, which halves super effective fairy damage. People in the past have questioned me why didn't I just use Assault Vest. Well, Assault Vest reduces the damage taken by increasing your special defense, but Roselli Berry halves the damage no matter what, making you survive attacks like Terra Fairy, Moonblast, Choice Specs, Fluttermane. Now, I thought those defensive items were pretty useless on Iron Hands. But that's when I realized that some people were using Mirror Herb on Sneasler to increase its attack and activate Unburden. I realized that maybe I could do something same to Iron Hands, except Iron Hands doesn't have Unburden, so it would be a waste to use Mirror Herb on Iron Hands for that single purpose and having a support Pokemon to help him. Then, I started brainstorming and looked at Urshifu, the main threat of Regulation D. I started to think to myself, how do I make Urshifu more deadly? People have tried to run Swords Dance, but for me personally, it's pretty hard to set up in front of amazing threats. So I asked myself, how do I stop being threatened? And the answer is removing the threat itself. Urshifu is often being threatened by something like Terra Water or Grass types, so I look at its move pool and one move caught my eye. Acrobatics. Acrobatics is a base 55 power flying type move that doubles its damage when the user isn't holding an item. And that's when I realized, that's when something in my head just clicked. Like the stars all aligned and everything became clear. Instead of safety goggles or mystic water, instead of Swords Dance, I realized, what if I just use Mirror Herb on Urshifu? Then, I looked for a good swagger prankster user, and at first I thought Tornadoes because of Tailwind, but another Pokemon caught my attention. Thundurus. The difference between Tornadoes and Thundurus is Windbolt Storm. Windbolt Storm is similar to Blake Windstorm, except it's an electric type and has a chance to paralyze your opponents. So, with this core, I just had to add the rest of the team. Of course, we have Sylveon with its standard moves but with Terra Fire and Terra Blast. At first, it was psychic, but it couldn't do anything in front of a lot of Pokemons. Terra Fire makes me not take much damage from Flutter, Heatran, or even Qianpao. Then, we also have Iron Bundle with all of the same moves as before. Now, this last Pokemon changed a lot over the time and the more I used it. At first, it was indeedee female because of Psychic Surge and removing priority. In the end, I settled with Farigiraf. Farigiraf is better because it lets me still use Fake Out and I can use Imprison Trick Room. Indeedee does have Trick Room, but I didn't have Sword and Shield, and even if I did, I'd have to grind till I get a shiny one. Anyways, with this team, I managed to create one of the deadliest Urshifu team out there in Regulation D. And thus, I named it the Urus Team. I used tournaments all over the world to practice this team, even tried using it in mini grassroots Philippine team league. As I got more and more experience with the team, the more and more deadly it becomes. As I realized, because I have swagger, I can confidently put Urshifu in front of Fluttermane because I can detect and swagger the Fluttermane, not only making it confused but giving my Urshifu an attack boost. Originally, I was running Scary Face to make myself slower when my enemies used Trick Room, but later on, I decided to use Thunder Wave. Besides, Trick Room didn't become a threat anymore when I added Farigiraf to the team. Now that I'm fairly used to the team and I have been doing amazingly with it, I decided that with Regulation D coming to an end, I wanted this team to see its fullest potential and use it in a tournament. Luckily, I got an invitation to a championship tournament in Pokemon Competitive League Discord, or PCL for short. They were running a $500 tournament where winner takes all. And I already had an invitation, all I had to do was win. The day is September 20. I am visiting Singapore for sightseeing. It's a calm morning, and it's time for me to finally use the final version of Urus Tech on a championship tournament. And as my first match starts, a problem occurs. My Switch doesn't want to connect to the hotel Wi-Fi. And as I was troubleshooting, my opponent agrees to play his first round in Pokemon Showdown. The match was intense, but I got to fully utilize Urus Tech in this first match. Whilst fighting, I managed to buy some roaming data so that I don't get disqualified the next round. Comes the third match. I was against a good opponent. The game starts off with me leading Sylveon and Farigiraf against him using Iron Hands and Landorus. Right off the bat, I already felt like I have a better matchup because Landorus won't really do much and Iron Hands can't fake out. Heatran comes out into the game and Landorus uses U-turn on Farigiraf. Iron Hands comes out again and Farigiraf uses Psychic but did no damage. I terrestrialized my Sylveon to resist Steel types and Heat Wave, which he did, so it was a good predict. Only thing I would have changed was Psychic onto Iron Hand. Sylveon KOs Iron Hand and Heatran KOs my Farigiraf. I wanted him to KO Farigiraf so that I get a free switch in onto my Iron Hands for Fake Out. He brings out Landorus, making my Iron Hands -1 attack. I use Fake Out to stop Lando and Hyper Voice to lower Lando's HP as it's the biggest threat right now. Heatran protects, which makes this turn a very good turn for me. I made a misread though and protected my Sylveon, which ended up costing me the whole game. I also misread the next turn with Iron Bundle Protect when I could have just KO'd the Landorus. Game 2 was different though. I brought in Urus. I wanted to use Detect and Swagger on the Peasant DPT but I had an idea that he would probably switch out his Landorus, and I wanted to take advantage of that, as the Serendipity was not really a threat at the time. He brings in Gyarados, which is bad for me because now I have -2. Although, I got the Thunder Wave off, so something positive came out of that interaction. I used Terra Electric Magnet Wind Bolt Storm to chip off Serendipity and hopefully kill Gyarados. Gyarados protects though, and Serendipity managed to pull up an Icy Wind Toxic Chain proc. I fake out Serendipity, forgetting that it's holding a covered cloak, which was a bad misplay for me. He withdraws Gyarados for Landorus, so now my Iron Hands is at -1. Serendipity also sets up Tailwind as I KO it. Heatran comes out and I saw an opportunity to swagger Heatran as Urshifu comes to tank Stomping Tantrum. I got the swagger off and even got a confused proc onto the Heatran. I detected to let thundurus KO as I set up Rain Dance so that Heat Wave won't do much. He switches out and got Gyarados to drop a bit of my attack. Gyarados dies from Wind Bolt, which is a big for me. He's down to his last 2 Pokemon, but he has Tailwind. And so, I took a Holy Mary and Rage for a double detect. He Terra Grass Heatran and I managed to pull up that double detect. Thundurus also fainted, which was in my favor because I can get in Iron Hands to fake out Landorus. Urshifu kills Landorus very easily as Heatran Heat Waves my Urshifu out. Although the game is good as one because my last Pokemon is Iron Bundle. Game 3 was pretty similar except he brought in Among Us, which worked onto my favor because my Urshifu was Terra Grass, therefore Rage Powder did not work at all. Now comes the finals against the previous champion of the tournament, Chris VGC. Now, the format goes that the finals will be a best out of 5 instead of a best out of 3. Remember that because it will become important. Game 1 starts off normal with me leading Iron Bundle and Thundurus against his Landorus and Tornadoes. I used Terra Blast Ground predicting Rock Slide and Thunder Wave to have Paralyzed chance onto the Tornadoes. Paralyzed worked, preventing a potential Tailwind, but Landorus Terastallized, making a 1-hit KO be 2-hit KO instead by changing the 4 times weakness into 2 times weakness instead. I used Protect this time to let Thundurus remove both Landorus and Tornadoes out of the field, knowing Landorus is stuck to the Terra Blast move. Landorus switched out and Tornadoes survived the Wind Bolt. Everything else after that was pretty normal, with Sylveon cleaning up the endgame. I went with the same Pokemons for Game 2 and he adjusted by bringing Iron Hands instead of Landorus. The third game went smooth, with Thundurus giving Iron Hands a 2 times boost and surviving on a hidden sash. Now, the problem occurs. As I was about to win in my match, the unthinkable happens. I got disconnected. Now, my opponents agreed that we just do the same lead and everything's good. I was in a winning position and a great position overall. But another problem occurs. As I was about to get my 3rd win out of 5, giving me the win, I got disconnected again. I suggested to just do same moves again as there wasn't anything that changed the game state like criticals or misses. But they said that the damage rolls were different, and so my opponent and the moderators decided on a restart of the whole game, which effectively made me lose the 4th match, which comes the 5th and final match, the one that will decide everything. Now, the 5th game was similar to the 2nd game, but I made a miscalculation in the end. I should have picked out Iron Hands instead of Ogerpon as it was safer because I knew that Sylveon could survive a potential IV Cudgel. Plus, Ogerpon had Spiky Shield, so it was a risky fake out. The rest of the game, Ogerpon dominated in giving me the loss. Now, it may sound like I'm blaming my opponents because of my 4th match where I should have gotten the win, but in reality, it wasn't anyone's fault. Bad luck just struck me and made what should have been an easy win turned into a loss. Yes, I could have played the 5th game better too, and I could have done a lot of things differently. In the end, I got 2nd place and lost my chance at the prize pool. Even though I made one of the deadliest Urshifu sets out there, I didn't even do justice to it by failing. Skills, knowledge, and luck. All of these are part of someone's strength. You may have skills and knowledge, but without luck, all of it can come crumbling down. It's a harsh truth, but the truth nonetheless.